Hello to Dr. Linda. I'm a leader for this group. Will present about our political event project for SSF 1053 course. So the first I will pass Salasiah to present about our assignment.
Hi, Dr. Linda and my fellow friends. My name is Salasiah binti Zuhaimi and my metric number is 81090. First of all, I will present about the historical of Malaysia. The history of Malaysia began during the Malay Sultanate of Malacca around 1400 AD. In its heyday, the territory of this sultanate covered most of the peninsula and the east coast of Sumatra. Malacca emerged as a glorious kingdom because of its authoritative leaders, efficient administrative and governance system, and strategic position at the meeting point between East Asia and West Asia. Starting from this year, Malacca fell to the Portuguese, and starting from this year, Malaysia was in the colonial era. After that, Malaysia fell to the Dutch in 1641 and finally fell to British in 1824 through the Anglo-Dutch Treaty. The advance of the Japanese army into Malaysia from 8 December 1941 to 15 February 1942 marked the beginning of another era of colonialism in Malaysia. However, the Japanese who occupied Malaya until 1945 surrendered following the atomic bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. The establishment of the Alliance Party 1952 began to open the eyes of the British to allowing the people of Malaysia to govern their own country. Malaysia would become independent on 31 August 1957. On May 27, 1961, Tunku Abdul Rahman Putra Al-Haj proposed to amalgamation of 5 colonies, namely the Federation of Malaysia, Singapore, Sabah, Sarawak, and Brunei, to form a new nation. On 9 July 1963, representatives of the British government, the Federation of Malaysia, Sabah, Sarawak, and Singapore, except Brunei, due to unavoidable circumstances. The intention to form a nation called Malaysia was achieved on 16 September 1963. Next, I will pass the presentation to the another person, that is Rozallia.
Thank you, Salasiah, for the presentation on historical of Malaysia country. Now I will continue the presentation on political events and the situations around them. Political events that happen in Malaysia is Malaysian general election in 2018. In such political events, there was a sort of improper government elections. This is said so because the political results of Malaysians show that for the first time in the history of politics in this country that there was a political change, namely the fall of the Barisan Nasional (BN) after losing to the opposition pact known as the Pakatan Harapan (PH). During the 40th general election, many observers, especially among the politicians, expected that the ruling party in power was Barisan Nasional to be re-elected as the ruling party. This is said so because throughout the general election since 1995, Barisan Nasional was the party in power in winning the majority of the voting seats. BN also holds the status of a strong party and the party of choice for the people during the 30th general election held. So, among the factors that caused political change after 63 years were in terms of economic parties and people's livelihood, image and personal damage of political party leaders, coalition of hope, influence of political party leaders, and the influence of 1.4 new voters. Furthermore, among the reasons for the fall of Barisan Nasional or BN is the huge influence of social media used by the opposition by playing on the issue of rising costs of living, which impacts everyone's ability to spend after Dato Sri Najib introduced the goods and services tax as known as GST at 6% in 2014, 1MDB scandal and Felda financial problems. Imlan 2018 also explained that the 40th general election called the People's Tsunami is also considered the mother of all elections in the country. So, OI 2018 explained that factors of Barisan Nasional failure to retain power in Putrajaya due to the decision to hold the elections day on Wednesday, which is the working day that angered the voters, took the opportunity to teach BN at the general elections. Last, the result of the defeat of the Barisan Nasional Party proved the existence of a good and stable democratic system in this country of Malaysia. That's all for me. Now I would like to welcome Aida for the next presentation.
Thank you. I will continue the presentation. My name is Aida Nabihah and my metric number is 78677. I will be presenting the discussion on political concept in relation to the political event, which is the unprofessional election voting among Malaysian community. The term political concepts refer to concepts essential to any serious reflection on political life. This set includes authority, democracy, equality, freedom, justice, power, and other concepts that represent fundamental political values. According to Law 2010, in liberal democracy, access to power is gained by a winning election, which is why politicians and political parties need the media to convince large number of voters to support them. Politicians focus on image and myth-making, as well as creating hype to gain the support, as the passive mass audience is usually dispassionate in politics. Success in making an impact enables politicians to get enough numbers of people to vote for them, thus gaining access to parliament and government, which is places of power where policies are made and executed. Transparency is one of the important keys to a credible election. A transparent election process is one in which each step is open for an inspection by anyone, such as political parties, election observers, and voters. They are the ones who are able to verify the process is managed according to procedures and no irregularities happen. Providing transparency in an election helps to gain trust and public confidence. The unprofessional election voting in the Malaysian community should be given an attention. Although voters are easily to be blinded by the promises and manifestos given by the political parties, this situation will cause us to tend to choose the wrong leader to run the country. This is why we should choose a good political party so that our country is under the right leadership. Many election issues have far-reaching implications on the people, including the unprofessionalism in election voting, especially to the younger generation. Education, healthcare, employment, crime rate, and corruption are among the issues that affect and will continue to affect the younger generation. During the Malaysia general election, the ruling party Barisan Nasional was ousted from power after over 6 decades of authoritarian rule by a new opposition coalition, the Pakatan Harapan. This can indicate that the people are now open and aware of current issues. The advancement of technology plays an essential role in disseminating a lot of information. Media plays an important role in giving a lot of new information in and out of the country through internet. To reach rural areas, especially in East Malaysia, traditional media such as television and radio are more suitable. This is due to the fact that those areas have a very limited network coverage. In order to provide information and news to them, traditional media are more suitable. Voting makes you feel good because you know you are involved in the democratic process, that your vote counts and your voice is heard. And it is your right and responsibility too. An election is an avenue for people to vote for honest and clean candidates of caliber who are fit and competent to lead the nation and be accountable and answerable to the people. It is the only time where changes can be made in the most peaceful and civilized manner without any violence involved. Therefore, young people should appreciate that voting is actually an opportunity for them to speak for themselves. It is an opportunity for them to choose the candidate or parties they wish to run and lead the nation. Voting recognizes the right to equality, the right to speak, and the right to be heard. Besides, voting makes you feel good because you know you are involved in the democratic process, that vote counts. That is why we should be professional during elections so that we can continue to live in harmony under the right leadership. Thank you. Next, I will pass the presentation to NorFitri.
Thank you, Aida, for your information and presentation. So I will continue about our presentation. Uh, as we know, elections are one of the important components of our country that adopts a democratic system of government. It is the main channel for the people to get involved in the country's political process. Election provide people to elect leaders who will understand expression. Election also allow the people to determine and desire pattern of governance, as each candidate or party contesting has its own ideology and principles of governance. Voter behavior in an area is greatly influenced by various factors. This factor also depends on the social control exercised by a party. So, the tentative conclusion for this study is the first is the existence of injustice. When the people vote based on the profits promised by the candidate of politician, it will certainly have a huge impact on the country. It can kill the economy and politics of the country and in turn can cause a political crisis. For example, in 2018, rural voters, the majority of whom are Malay voters, especially Felda settlers, was strong and loyal in supporting the government party, Barisan Nasional at that time. This is the evidence by the parliamentary constituencies that contain Felda settlement areas or better known as the Felda Plan in favor of the ruling party BN Barisan Nasional. The majority of votes obtained by Barisan Nasional candidates in parliamentary constituencies containing the Felda Plan is quite high, and this reflects the strong support by Felda voters for the ruling party. The continuous victory of political party is due to the devotion and promise fulfilled in the development of an area, whether it is political, economic, and social development. Felda voters are more concerned with the development of the area for the well-being of life and not sensational issues. There is a problem if the chosen leader is based on the benefits promised to a group of people, especially for the Felda community and rural communities. For example, there are economic resources such as the right to obtain tenders monopolized by only a group of politicians. They have interests but do not fulfill the responsibilities and do not provide the best quality of service in performing. As a result, it is the people the brand. According to a source from the Entrepreneur Development, division of the Ministry of Work report that there are 85 and 37% of the projects implemented by a handful of Bumiputra contractors flow to other races. The issues of leakage has received widespread coverage and warm reactions, especially for those who are oppressed. And the second tentative conclusion is about the moral corruption in politicians and government officials. The election of leaders is very important for the country because society is very dependent on leaders. Leaders who are not transparent in governing and the country make it difficult for the country to grow. The state administrative system will do not work well because of the existence of other channels beside that system. The administrative system is designed to smooth the course of the business, but due to the role of insider or middleman, the system that is supposed to give the best result in the service fail to work when corruption, bribery, and profit become intermediaries. On July 30, 2022, the Daily Red News, they long await that for there are 222 parliament, the politician plan the direction of the country after the severe COVID-19 storm. The situation saw the behavior and the manner of the handful, both in the government bloc and the opposition bloc, who shout and hold as if snatching the glory of parliamentary institution that should be respected and admired. Each one to scramble to speak, one to raise their voice and turn each other. Even more sad is the fact that there is no shame in humiliating to the other politician with abusive language. Incidents like this should not happen because the debates in the politician watched by a millions of Malaysians, not except the younger generation who will inherit the reins of governments. And the and the third is about adverse in the country rise public awareness. According to Sarawak Voice News on March 30, elections results are influenced by voting patterns, not predilection, said political analyst from Professor D.R. Ahmad, Professor Dr. Ahmad Matarda from UNIMAS. Voting patterns among voters. The situation shows that although Selangor has many areas involved, such as Shah Alam, Petaling Jaya, and Kapong, but the tendency of non-Malay voters and tendency of urban voters, they vote based on the trend of voting for the opposition. For the opposition, it said that more than three, more than 13 seats involved the government's BN at that time, and 16 seats involved for the opposition. According to Awani News, Dr. Mahathir said that Datuk Sri Najib Razak as the worst prime minister in Malaysia history was based on the damage done by the leaders involved in leading the government. Dr. Mahathir claimed that among the damage done by the sixth prime minister of Malaysia was to make the Malaysian government and rely on corrupt practice apart from practicing money politics in gaining the support of certain individuals. He also said that Najib was also an individual who had destroyed the UMNO party apart from being the main cause in the big defeat of Barisan Nasional in 15 general election. In 40 general election. This situation proved that at the time the society began to realize that they need to rise up to elect the prime minister who was trustworthy and transparent in governing the country. So I will pass to Aprilia to continue the presentation.
Thank you. My name is Aprillia Sebai and my metric ID is 78867. Next, the effect of unprofessional voting is there will be various uprising and demonstration because the people are not satisfied. This is because the young voter also lack confidence and frustrated at immature politicians of the ruling party of post GE13 that abuse their power and are involved in corruption activity. Various scandals have been investigated by the Malaysia Anti-Corruption Commission (MSCC). According to MSCC, almost 2.667 billion of funds had been transferred from One Malaysia Development Berhad, a strategic development enterprise operating by the government, to the bank account of former Prime Minister Najib Razak. Due to this 1MDB development, the country political establishment over the decades of its rulings had been shaken to the great extent whereby Malaysians have started to question that 1MDB credential and also the government capability in country development. MSCC also discovered some of the Malaysian Negaraku project were not implemented. They believe that a total fund of 25 million of One Malaysia Negaraku project were established. Based on the investigation by the US, the Justice Development over 1836 billion followed through some complex acute transaction and fraudulent shell companies to the person bank account of some corrupted politician, include Najib Razak. The voters are also unhappy with the action of past government who tried to conceal information and also provide biased information to the citizen. Anti-fake news law was implemented by the previous ruling party, which tried to protect themselves by removing those false news with a sensitive and provide negative sentiment to them. With regard to this negative sentiment, Malaysia young voters have a strong inclination to city to the post GE13 government. Apart from that, economy and social change in society. Most of the Malaysians are also unsatisfied with the economy issue that occurs due to the change in government policies such as high cost of living, increment of employment rate, and low income. Most of Malaysia have tried to express their disagree and complain about the government policy with which was the imposition of goods and service GST price hikes. Due to the imposition of GST was concerning the Malaysian, especially the low income group and employment group. The fact is that GST will undoubtedly increase the cost of living which burn the citizen. Moreover, Malaysia, especially the young working adult, are also disappointed with the low salary rate and high employment rate in Malaysia, which make them to be considered as a poor urban category. In conclusion, there are many effects when unprofessional voting choose the wrong government. So to the young and young to the young and old voter must mature when they choose the government. Thank you. That all from our members.
Okay, thank you, Aprilia. So, from this study, we learn more about how to choose and know about our country's condition, that is Malaysia. We hope the people will being professional in elections because it is very important to improve our people to success, and we can show the world that Malaysia can fight with the other countries like Japan, South Korea, and China. So that's only from us. Thank you, Doctor, for your time, and thank you for the other members. Uh, I hope we can I can see you guys for the next year. So take care and stay healthy.